Good evening. I'm Jim Mize. I'm with Pima County One-Stop Career Center. I'm actually here representing Pima County in whole. This has really been interesting and quite frankly kind of validates some of the issues that I see on a day-to-day basis dealing with employers and trying to find jobs for our clients. What I do want to talk about is some, you can go ahead to the next one. I just want to talk about some statistics that I think Ms. Powers talked about earlier. I want to kind of re-emphasize and discuss some of the issues that are kind of global, kind of national, if you will, as well as local and statewide, and how that impacts the things we hear about job growth, and we hear monthly reports about 70,000 jobs and things like that. I want to put a little bit of that into perspective because from where I sit, I see all the problems these guys have talked about from not only small business but big businesses. So when I was asked by Phil and Rick to come and talk about job creation and what are we going to do to create jobs, I'm thinking, I don't know if I can create any jobs. Businesses create jobs. All I do is try to find out what businesses need, help train people so that they fit the need of that employer, and then we can hopefully help them get jobs that way. Some interesting stuff that just kind of terrifies me as a country, that 6.7% of our population, or 20.5 million, was reported a couple of weeks ago, live at 50% or less of the poverty level. The poverty level for four in the United States is $11,157. So 20 million of the United States people live under that level. And those people, one, don't have skills to get jobs even if we had jobs, so there's an awful lot of effort that's going to be needed in that area. In Arizona, we're running at about a 9 to 9.1% unemployment rate. It depends on what, you can look at all kinds of numbers, and I could probably find 8.7 tomorrow if I looked at the right, if I wanted to. But it's somewhere around 9, 9.1, and the same applies to Tucson. That equates to right at about 44, and I think your slide said something like that, 44 to 45,000 people in Pima County are unemployed. All right, so that's a 9% unemployment rate. At the best of times, when we were, and we'll never see that again, in my opinion, if we ever see 6% unemployment rate again, I'll be happy. But when we were at 4% back in 6, 7 years ago, that still meant we had 22 to 23,000 people unemployed. By choice, hard employed, whatever. That still leaves another 25 to 20,000 people that are unemployed because they got laid off. And that's the biggest issue we have right now. We have an awful lot of people that are trying to regain jobs. So job creation, I have a little difficulty with that word because I'm just trying to get people back to work where they used to be so they can pay their mortgages and pay their car bills and buy stuff from local businesses. And that's a real challenge for all of us right now. I was at a conference last week, and Jim Apperson, who is the Assistant Director of the Department of Economic Security, reported that in Arizona, 282,000 people are unemployed. The state job listing, if you will, where employers put their job needs in, had 35,000 jobs on the books. That means there's an 8-to-1 ratio of unemployed people to openings. Now we see that here locally. I put together some data just so I would have it, and over the last 12 months in Pima County, we've been running at about anywhere from 500 to 1,300 job openings a month. I just told you I got 25,000. We've got 45,000 people unemployed, and we've got about 1,300 openings on a monthly basis. So again, I know we're talking about job creation. I'd love to create some jobs. I'd love to figure out how to create some jobs. Some of the things that we do, let's see, I've got employer needs. I'll give you a little quick and dirty, haven't seen a card book yet. Dorothy Harmon, who actually works in our organization, does a great job of getting grant money, and the grants typically come from the Department of Labor or from the state. Wrote something, she calls it Jim and Dorothy's Rant, but It started out with, despite high unemployment in the region, Southern Arizona's aerospace, defense, and other high-tech industries, and this was for a specific grant that we did get, suffer shortages of skilled workers in information technology, engineering, technical management occupations. In 2010, employers submitted H-1B visa applications for 71 engineers, 97 computer positions, 15 engineering or high-tech management. Many of these positions are required to be filled by U.S. citizens due to security clearance requirements. Most of these occupations require a bachelor's degree, and demand is not being met by available talent. Now, something's wrong when we can't fill 97 engineering jobs from our local talent. But that's just where we are. So we applied for an H-1B grant, and we got it just here recently, and hopefully that will help us train some people who are already incumbent workers. That's what they're called if you're working. You're an incumbent worker. If I can train your skills and get you towards that degree, then our job will be to help create jobs. The way we do that is now you get promoted. Hopefully that'll leave an opening at the bottom. And yeah, it'll be a lower skilled job, but the fact of the matter is you'll be working, and hopefully you'll be earning a living. So from that vantage point, that's part of what we do to create jobs. I also have, let's see, I think you can probably switch it now. There's some programs that we run that do in fact, I was talking to Melissa before we started, we can help employers in some respects to create jobs. Now, if you've got an opening, and maybe you're just a little reluctant to fill that job because you're just not quite there from a fiscal standpoint, well, we do have an on-the-job training program, which can pay up to 50% of that new hire's wages for up to 6 months, and we can negotiate that. You know, I'm a strong believer in negotiations. I came out of Raytheon, did a lot of labor relations stuff, and if you want to pay that guy 18 bucks an hour, I might be able to beat that 50%. But if you're only going to pay somebody $10 an hour, I may not get close to 50%. So there's some issues there. There's some ways that we can strategize with companies to encourage them to hire. Maybe they're on the border of whether they want to or not. With some of these programs, we can in fact encourage them to hire. Incumbent training, again, I spoke about that earlier. We've trained well over 1,000 people that are currently working. Again, idea, get their skills up, get them promoted, get them at a higher wage level, and hopefully that'll open up some jobs at the bottom. I would be the most naive person in the world to tell you that everybody we trained who got a promotion, there was an automatic opening. That's not the way it works in business. Half the people in this room probably own businesses, and you don't do that. You try to figure out how to keep your same labor force and try to get this job done with the same amount of people. So it's a real challenge trying to get companies today to hire people. I can do this in 3 months. There's lots of different tax incentives. Most of those, if not all of those, are operated or actually out of the federal government. The job opportunity tax credits. There's a new one that just came out called the Hiring Incentive to Restore Employment Act, called the HIRE Act. Easy enough. And I can give you some more data on that if anybody's interested. I won't go with that here. I think this is the chart. Business expansions. I wish I had better news about business expansions. Maybe somebody on the panel does, but I really don't. We've had a couple. I guess I'm going to give you 3 really good examples, and then that's about all of them. After that, it kind of drops off. Sergeant Controls. I'm part of the group. I'm actually the liaison with TRIO. I wasn't sure how they were represented a while ago, but I do work with TRIO because that's who we are. That's who we got. TRIO brings in companies, and we worked very hard with Sergeant Controls to convince them to move the rest of their operation from California to here. Did that. There's about 170 jobs were created as a result of that. Ventana, Roush Medical, I'm sure you heard that announcement 6 months, 8 months ago. Quite frankly, if they hired 10 people out of the 500 that they said they were going to have here, that's about right, but the potential for the 500 new jobs is there, and they're high-paying jobs. And then our old nemesis, say what you want to, $14 an hour is better than 0. We just brought, there were 3 call centers came recently to town in the last year that generated about 1,200 job openings. Again, I'm not a big call center guy, 12 to 14 bucks an hour is about what they're starting out now, and that's, ask the guy that's unemployed, that's better than being unemployed. Let's see, I've got job creation at the county level. I went to the public forum the other day that State Congressman Vic Williams had out in Marana. Jim DeGrood, who's the Director of Transportation for PAG, was talking about bond money. He was talking about RTA funds, and you know we got a bond coming up here in the next year or two, whenever they decide to do it. For every $1 million of bond money spent on infrastructure, on roads and stuff, that creates 5 jobs. So, I don't have the data, I wrote it down somewhere. Of course you can't find it when you need it. But there's been several $100 million spent on from RTA funds, and that has created a number of jobs. About 1,100 jobs is what I want to say off the top of my head. Let's see. About the last thing, you can probably change that. I think I'm at my last chart. Good. Hiring needs. Well, I already mentioned the fact that the job postings have stayed pretty steady over the last year in terms of openings locally. You might think that 235 openings to 380 openings is a large swing, but it's all relative when you're looking at the number of people that we're typically looking at that need work. We're doing the incumbent worker training that I talked about. One of the biggest issues that I see today, and I come out of the private sector. I was 20 years at Raytheon in Human Resources, so I know all about job postings. I know all about ads that I see in the paper. I still have I'm an old HR guy. I cannot get out of the habit of looking at the Sunday paper and seeing what kind of jobs are available. 3 or 4 years ago, high school degree, GED, come go to work. Today, same job. Got to have an associate's degree with 3 or 4 years experience. And oh, by the way, I'm going to pay the same amount of money that I paid you then. So it's fair, not fair. Again, I used to sit with applications. I did staffing for a while. It's one thing to look at 5 resumes and be able to pick somebody out. Now these guys, and I talk to them all the time, are looking at 20 to 30 applications to find one. They have a huge choice in front of them. They don't have to take the high school degree guy. They don't have to take the person with the GED. There's a whole lot of people running around with associates and bachelor's degrees that they can hire. And you know what? You don't have to pay them what they used to pay them 5, 6, 7 years ago because the quantity of people are there. But that's all bad stuff, and I don't mean to say bad stuff at the end. We've got to create jobs. I don't know how to create jobs. Some of the programs that we're bringing in through the Pima County One Stop, that we write grants and we get money and we try to train people, and hopefully that brings in, not only gets the people that are working higher paid jobs, but in the end will open up some positions at the bottom and some of these guys will get hired. So that's it. Thank you very much.